ladies and gentlemen, to podcast number 28 for the Catholic Education Foundation. This month we have a very exciting guest. We have Brandon Pfaadt, a professional baseball player at the Arizona Diamondbacks, and as always, Mr. Rich Lechleiter, the president of the Catholic Education Foundation of Louisville. Brandon and Rich, greetings to podcast number 28.
Good to be with you guys. Thank you.
So in this episode, we want to spotlight the significance that a Catholic education and Brandon's faith has kind of played in his role of developing him into a Major League Baseball star here, Rich. Absolutely. So pretty cool. So Brandon, first question. Is someone who's deeply passionate about baseball, I consider myself kind of a baseball nerd. It's thrilling to have you here, obviously. And thank you for carving out time for being here. We know you report back soon, so it's very, very huge honor for you to be here for us.
Absolutely.
To kick things off, could you kind of share with us your Catholic school experience?
Yeah, so I went to Catholic school in grade school, high school, and college.
Yeah, all three.
Yeah,
the trifecta there, Rich.
So I guess I'm a good candidate for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I went to St. Martha, and then I went to Trinity High School, and then I went to Bellarmine University, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm grateful for my parents helping put me through those schools and helping with tuition all those years for both me and my two brothers. It was probably hard at times. I'm just grateful to grow up the way I did, for sure.
You know, Rich, before I go on the next question, it is a sacrifice. And it's one of those things where I've had conversations with families who don't send their kids to a Catholic school, and it's like, they're deciding on whether they're buying a boat or what vacation they're taking as opposed to sending their kid to a Catholic school for that year. But it's a sacrifice for a lot of people, but I tell you what, it's a worthy sacrifice.
It's the best, single-handedly, it's the best single investment a parent can make in their child's future, period. There is none better. You're never going to find it. Don't look for it. It's right in a Catholic school.
Yeah.
And we're all living proof of
we are.
this. Mm-hmm. We all have, we're part of families that grew up in this tradition.
Yeah.
So it's really meaningful as kind of a family bond. And that tradition's never going to fade. The importance of it will never fade.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I kind of noticed is having the friends I still talk to them, and having that friendship that's unconditional and lasts forever. That's one thing that I take from growing up through the CSAA environment, playing sports, and going to school every day. So that's for sure. That's one thing that I took away from it, for sure.
Pretty cool.
Very important.
Yeah.
So at your time at St. Martha and at Trinity, was there anyone that kind of impacted your life? Maybe a coach, maybe a teacher?
I wouldn't say anybody in particular. I'd say a bunch of them.
Okay.
You could look at your basketball coach in grade school. You could look at your baseball coach like Rick Arnold in high school, and then going on to Bellarmine, you could look at baseball coach, athletic director, any teacher along the way. So I wouldn't say anybody in particular. I'd just say a bunch of them, especially at Trinity. Coach Rudolph at Trinity, he was great. He was my advisor for 4 years, and I still talk to him. Actually, I'm going to run him over. Before I leave, I'm going to run him over a few baseball cards this week.
Awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Just having that connection, it's always a text away.
Sure.
Even though it seems so long ago, but,
yeah.
You still have that relationship. So I wouldn't say anybody in particular, but, those connections are still there. Those relationships are still there, and they don't go away.
Yeah, amen.
Well, it's the word community, right? We talk about that a lot on this show, and the work we're doing is to make people feel a part of a community, feel a part of something bigger than yourself, and that's essentially what Brandon's talking about.
So why Trinity? Why Trinity High School?
I'm probably going to say the same thing about Bellarmine if you were to ask that question. I had a bunch of family that went there. My dad graduated from there. My grandpa taught there, went there, and
so it's like a big legacy.
It's a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say that's the only reason why I went there. I looked at St. X as well. I went on what do they call that?
Shadow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. And then my 8th grade year, I was like, man, I really like St. X too. But at the end of the day, I chose Trinity just because it felt like home. It felt like that's where I needed to be. And then right when I stepped on campus my freshman year, I was like, all right, I made the right decision, and
I'm at
I
home.
started playing baseball and developed some friendships that like I said last till today, and it was a great decision.
So what level of attention were you receiving from colleges before you graduated from Trinity? And then again, and obviously I think you kind of just answered this, but what led you to Bellarmine?
Like I said, family. The coach at the time, Larry Owens, was a big part of that. You know, I kind of grew up around Bellarmine University. My dad works there, so you know I knew everything about the campus before I stepped in in freshman year, and then you know the baseball. It was a perfect fit for me at the time, and I still remember my first outing in college. I was a nervous wreck.
Freshman?
Yeah, freshman year. And then my brother was a senior, and he was actually the catcher.
Okay. So you're pitching to your brother.
Yeah,
all right.
And he comes out for a mound visit, and it was like, I forget what he said, but I was like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was a bad outing. He's like, dude, just relax. And having him there, and
that's pretty cool.
It was cool to play with both my brothers for sure.
Okay.
My younger brother was 2 years below me, so my junior year, which was my last year, he was a freshman.
Oh, wow. That's a legacy there, Rich. That's pretty cool.
Great family tradition.
It was a lot. So
it really is.
And then my grandpa taught history at the time at Bellarmine. And,
okay.
He still does, actually, just in the falls. But
like many, many, many years, yes?
Yeah.
I mean, decades.
20-plus years for sure.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ties, just like
he's kind of a famous history teacher there, right?
Yeah, everybody loves him. So
everybody knows.
Allegedly. That's what I heard. But there's a lot of, just like Trinity, there's a lot of reasons why I chose Bellarmine, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so what extent do you think your upbringing in a Catholic school has contributed to the success you've had so far?
I think how I was raised kind of helped me live how I want to be. You know, you talk about success, and that might not just be on field, but I think more of like your reputation throughout the community.
Oh, yeah.
And I think
who you are as a person.
Yeah, going through the schooling that I did and how I was raised helped build that reputation and build the man of character that I believe I am today. And, you know, just all three schools into one.
Yeah.
Just helping me get there and know who and how I should act, and all those people that we mentioned help me get there.
It's a foundation, right?
For sure.
I mean, it's the foundation of who you are as a person. And these Catholic schools really set you up.
It's a faith journey.
It's a faith journey. That's right. It's a good way to put it.
That everybody kind of gathers around for each part of that community, and it works. It really works.
So, Rich, considering the impact that Catholic schools have had on Brandon, it seems like, obviously this isn't isolated. It's just one example of how Catholic schools positively influence lives every day, right?
Yeah, listen, the more I've been in this business, I'm going to hit 10 years at the foundation in April, the more I've had a chance to meet students like Brandon who've gone on from our grade schools, gone on from our high schools, gone to college, start a career, start a family. And, after you meet some of these people, you start to realize we do this thousands of times every day.
Every day.
We've got 3,700 kids on our watch right now, and hopefully growing next fall.
Right.
Every one of those kids is special, and everyone has their own story to tell about why St. Martha is so important to them, why St. Edward works for them.
Yep.
So, thousands of times a day. It's exciting.
All right, Brandon, so this is pretty cool. So you were a fifth-round draft pick of the 2020 draft, and that was the pandemic draft, right? So it was shortened.
Correct.
Tell us about that experience. Did you know you were going to get drafted? Obviously, you had a bunch of workouts coming up to that point, but take us through that journey.
Yeah, there was some speculation. It was never guaranteed that I was going to get drafted that year, and leading up, that junior year was crazy. As you said, it was the COVID year, and we got cut short. I think I had like 6 starts that year. And
was that your senior year?
That was my junior year.
Okay, your junior year.
Correct. Okay. So there was only 5 rounds in the draft, and I was projected round 2 through 6.
Okay.
So obviously there wasn't a 6th round. So
right.
I remember sitting there on draft day. We were just in our living room. It was the whole family, and then Allie was with me, and we were sitting there for probably 7 hours that day. And gradually, as it kept going, we were getting more anxious. People were starting to get a little tense as the draft came to an end, and finally my phone rang, and it was my agent. And, and I answered, and I was like, "What's up? What do you got for me?" And he was like, "The Diamondbacks want to pick you in a few picks, yada yada yada." And
so you knew it was coming. So you knew the Diamondbacks was
it wasn't away, like you see it on TV and it's like,
okay,
I just got drafted.
All right.
At least in my case, it wasn't. Okay. And I just remember that day vividly, and how tense we were getting. We were like, "Come on."
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely, let's go. Because at the end of the day, I looked back at some of my Bellarmine teammates who would kill to be in the spot.
Oh yeah, sure.
And you got 35 other guys on that team that would sign for anything,
right.
would give anything to play pro ball. And I was like, let's roll.
Yeah.
Like, yes, I'm all in, and I'm glad I did. Took the opportunity to the fullest, and that COVID year, it was crazy. I said yes to getting drafted. I signed, and then probably sat at home for 4 months because there wasn't a season.
Right.
And and then I got a call one day. Went out to a little camp. That's my first time west of Missouri, and I was like, "What is this?"
Right.
But I was like, I've never seen anything like this. So it was awesome. It was a good day.
Well, man, you've obviously made the best of it. So when you get drafted, and obviously in baseball it's a little bit different because you start at rookie ball, then there's single A, there's high A, there's double A, there's triple A, and you kind of went through the whole gamut there, right? Now you went up the ranks pretty quick.
Correct. Yeah, I was lucky.
So where did you start when?
I started in Visalia, California, in low A.
In low A.
Correct.
Okay. And then how quickly did you go up the ladder?
I spent 2 months in low A, 2 months in high A, and 2 months in double A in my first year, which is
pretty good.
Not a lot of people do that.
Wow.
So,
well, it's really good, but that's still a grind, though. I mean, you guys are on buses. I mean, it's a different lifestyle. It's not the Major League Baseball lifestyle.
Right. It was definitely a grind, especially in those lower levels. You don't really know if you're ever going to make it.
Right.
You just got to show up every day with that hope and that intention to get better, and hopefully get that call from the farm director and be like, "Hey, we're on to the next level."
Yeah.
And I remember my first call up, and I was like, "What'd I do?" Like, I went home and packed for forever. It felt like,
right.
and I hopped on the plane the next day and got up to a new level. But the opportunity with the D-backs was awesome, helping me take advantage of moving up quickly, and along with some other guys.
So you went this past year, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I know you went from AAA to the big leagues and then back to AAA, right? Because you kind of, I don't know if it was
twice.
Twice. And it was because when you got to the big leagues, what happened? You just didn't perform, or what was it?
Didn't perform, and if you don't perform at that level, they need to send you back down, work on a few things, and get you right back up.
When you got sent back down, how did that feel? Were you devastated, or?
I think this goes back to how I was raised and everything. You see some guys that are devastated. You see some guys that kind of pout. But I think how I was raised, I was always, you fight adversity. I looked at, there were two roads. There was a positive and a negative, and I chose the positive road to go down and get better and be the best version of myself and get back up as soon as possible. And I did that twice.
Right.
But, I still had that vision at the end of the year to win some ball games for the Diamondbacks.
Sure.
And we sure did. And I think it was a blessing in disguise to go through those speed bumps and during the season and go in the postseason. That I think it definitely helped us out.
So I know you're a spiritual person, and I know faith is a big part of your life. How much did that play in being able to kind of accept these challenges that were put in front of you?
For sure. I think, there's more than baseball in life. And I think at the end of the day, you go home, regardless if it was a good or bad day.
Right.
There's more than baseball.
Right.
With religion, faith, and I think that's that's the foundation of life. And, even if I didn't perform that day, I knew that there was something greater going on. And you can't beat yourself up about it too much.
Rich, so hearing that, Brandon's journey obviously has a lot of similarities with business careers, right? In the face of challenges in one's career, what would you say is most crucial factor to focus on in kind of the business world?
Well, I think it's what Brandon's talking about in baseball. There's something greater than life than yourself, period. And his name's Jesus Christ. Your family's also super important in business or in baseball, and that you can't lose sight of those two. And what happens inevitably is through your own faith, through your own bond with your family, you succeed in a lot of other things, including career. I mean, that matters. All that kind of comes together.
Yeah.
And for many people in life that have that faith foundation, the rest of it goes pretty good too.
It makes sense. Okay, so Brandon, I've got to ask because I keep, I watched every second of it. How was the experience of the World Series? I mean, it had just been unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I think, honestly, in the moment, I didn't notice some things or take into fact what was going on actually until I got home. And this off season it's been great, but now I'm starting to realize everything that happened.
Yeah.
And going back and looking at pictures.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. How cool is that?
That was the World Series. And every day you get somebody and be like, "Are you Brandon? Like, you were in the World Series."
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, all these people
that
were
stardom
watching.
phase, sure.
And I think in the moment, I was just worried about getting the job done, and there was a lot of things going on, but I was just focused on one thing. But now I can sit back and kind of take it all in and process what happened and be grateful for it.
So you were what, 24, 25 when that happened?
24.
24 years old. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Rich, I tell you what, there's not a long list of people who've been from Louisville, Kentucky to play in the World Series. It's a pretty short list. So it's pretty cool to have that honor. Yeah. And listen, he's somebody that's supporting, that is flying the flag for our Catholic schools. It's a pretty cool deal.
Well, Brandon, it's, when you get to that level, whether people like it or not, you're a role model. You are. And you can
whether you like it or not.
I'm not.
Yep.
I don't want to be.
Yep.
You are. And the fact that you've embraced that as well, and with humility and grace, is just, it speaks volumes about you and your family, and certainly about your education. It does.
So there was a viral photo that everybody thought you were reading a Bible before you went out and pitched. I forget which game it was.
It was the NLCS Game 7.
Game 7. Okay. So it turns out, I think I saw an article somewhere, it wasn't a Bible. But if
it was, that would have been perfect for this podcast.
It would have been, right? It would have been right on. But it was a scouting report from what I've heard.
Correct.
But you did follow that up in that particular interview and said, but listen, faith is a big part of your life.
Right. And I think when all that was going on, I was like, man, I don't want this going the wrong way. I don't know. I just didn't feel like it was something I should just leave and let people think.
Right.
But then again, I was like, well, if I leave it and it helps somebody out and somebody else picks up.
Oh, yeah.
Faith.
It went viral. It was a big deal.
In religion, awesome.
Yeah.
But I think, I talked with a few people, and I think the best thing was to say it wasn't a Bible, it was a scouting report, and follow that up with saying that I was a man of faith still, and I just kind of left it at that. But I just thought maybe if it hit deep into one person, that's a win. So
look,
a win.
That's an act of courage, right? I mean, when you're that visible around the world, and that medium, that takes courage. It's not easy to do, to stand up and say, look, here's who I am.
Right.
A lot of people can't do it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the fact that you stood up for your faith, stood up for your family and what you believe in, it's exemplary. And I think it really matters.
I mean, Rich, you show it every day in your actions. Why do you believe it's crucial to be a man of faith?
It's the foundation for everything in your life. I mean, I look back, I'm 65 years old. And everything that's happened to me in my life, good or bad, was faith-bound and faith-centered. And the older I get, the more I believe it. So it's a stronger part of my life, I guess. And, my kids who are all in their 20s, 4 of them, and my oldest is 30, I want them to know that experience and to believe that for themselves in their lives. And I learned it from my mom and dad a long time ago. It's so true. There's nothing more important than your Catholic faith. Nothing.
So speaking of this faith here, and Brandon, I'm a youth coach. I coach all kinds of different sports, and baseball being one of them. I've got a really good 14-year-old travel baseball team. When you were kind of that age, coming through the ranks, did you ever imagine yourself on the stage that you're on now?
It's something that I dreamed of, but I don't know if I made it a reality and believed in it. And I think that grew along the way. When I got to college, I actually went to college just to play baseball, go to school. And then
professional baseball probably wasn't even really on the radar, right?
It wasn't really on the radar, and until my junior year, that's when scouts started showing up, and you'd be on the mound and you'd see them behind home
Makes
plate,
sense.
and I was like, man, I think I actually have a shot.
I got a chance here, right?
And then that's when it became a reality. I went to the Cape Cod League in the summer, and
That's where you play like every day, don't you?
Correct. Absolutely. It's a grind.
Every day.
And you live with a host family. I mean, it's a little bit of a different deal there. But the best college players go there.
Yeah, and I showed up, and I'm a D2 guy. There's not many.
Yeah, Bellarmine, right?
There's not many D2 guys there.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm going to compete with these guys. I just watched them in the World Series on TV.
Right.
And truth behold, and I went out there and competed and actually did better than I thought I would, and it gave me a chance, and that's when I was like, man, this is a reality. This is an opportunity. I just need to take it and run with it.
What would you tell a youth team of kids who have this dream and want to be able to, hey, at first it starts with making a high school team. And then if you're good enough, then maybe playing a college. And then, a very small percentage has that opportunity to go play professional sports. I did it at the golf level, and it's very small percentage.
Right.
Go on and actually do professional sports. You're professional in something else, but not necessarily sports. What would you tell a youth that's wants that path?
Yeah, I think when you think about it being that small of a percentage, you got to just tell them to have fun. At the end of the day, God has a plan for you. So I think as long as you're having fun, you're working hard, you're being coachable, then everything will come into play how it should be. And if you were to be able to play professionally, then that was God's plan. If not, you had fun doing it.
Right.
So I think the most important part is having fun, being grateful for your coaches and your parents to be able to be in that spot that you are, regardless of your age. And I think just having fun and like I said, being coachable and those other things, that's the most important part. And
coachable and having fun. I love it.
That's what I did growing up, and it worked out.
So Brandon, you started Game 3 of the World Series. Did you how nervous were you? Was it crazy?
I would be lying if I said I wasn't nervous.
Yeah, right? Listen, I understand when you're a professional athlete, you rely on all the training that you've done, and you go out and you just do what you do, right? But come on, there had to been some nerves.
There's so many unknowns in sports, so I think that's where the nerves come in. But it's crazy because once I get out on the field, those all go away, and it's just I think that's where practice comes in.
Wow,
and everything goes away. Everything is like white noise. There could be 40,000 people in the stands or 4,000. And I truly believe that it would be the same thing when I'm competing. And I don't know, that's probably not for everybody, but I think being nervous is good, to be honest. And taking those nerves
I agree.
And
using
them as fuel. That's kind of how I see being nervous. You wake up and the game's not till 7:00 and you wake up at 11.
Right.
Should I just go back to bed?
Yeah. What am I going to do? Right.
Or should I just sit here in my bed nervous in a hotel room?
Yeah.
But everybody gets nervous, and it's just how you use those nerves. your advantage.
How much did your faith play a role into you being prepared?
I think a lot.
Did you pray any? Did you say any prayers?
No, but I think in the back of my head, I knew God had a plan, and I trusted in Him, and that helped me get over those nerves and go out there and have the confidence to compete. I
guarantee your family was praying.
Oh, I bet they were.
There's no doubt about that. How big of a deal is your family played in this process?
They're almost 100%. My brothers, we're lucky to have the parenting we had and still have our parents together and here with us. And, none of this would be possible without them and the sacrifices that they made, not only putting us through the schooling that they did and those financial sacrifices, but day in and day out. It's looking back on it, it's really a reality of noticing those things when you get older. For sure. You're going to practice at 9 p.m. in 8th grade. You don't realize that your parents have to go with you.
Yeah, right. They got to get you there. They got to pick you up. Sure.
But now looking back on it, you're like, man.
Yeah. A lot of sacrifices there.
Almost everything, because none of that would have been possible. I probably wouldn't be playing baseball if it weren't for them.
Right.
And those sacrifices that they made.
Rich, Brandon was striking out the biggest names in baseball in that World Series. It was pretty incredible. I mean, just the guys that you went through in that lineup was pretty incredible. How does this make you feel, seeing a St. Martha alum, a Trinity alum, a Bellarmine alum, right here in our backyard, excelling on the grandest stage?
We love it. Are you kidding? I mean, what could be better? I would say this too, and I learned this myself in my Catholic school journey, is that you can become so much greater than you ever thought you could be through your Catholic faith and Catholic education. That's kind of the secret sauce for Catholic schools, is getting these kids, no matter at the top of the gene pool or otherwise, and getting them to understand that they too can be successful in life in whatever facet that is, whether that's career, whether that's family, whether that's community. And we see it so often from our Catholic school graduates, not only the ones we support, but all of them. And I think, you look at the high schools and all these service hours. I don't care which high school you go to, and all the hours that are put forth by students, faculty, and staff that better the community. They don't do anything for the school,
right?
But they do a ton for the community. That's just one example, I think, of how powerful that is.
All right, Brandon, two-part question here. So what do you think the future holds for you baseball-wise? What do you see yourself in the near future baseball-wise?
I want to play as long as I can. I want to play till I can impact somebody else and build that reputation that we were talking about earlier. And I just want to be the best version of myself. And just the longer I play, probably the more people I impact. Mm-hmm. And I gave lessons last year and before I was in the big leagues, and they text me this year like, when are you coming back? And I think that's the impact that I like to have on my community. And and the longer I play, I think the more people I impact, and that's what I would like to do. Okay, so everybody is going to play their last game at some point, and at some point you're going to play your last baseball game. Have you contemplated what you want to do after baseball? No, not really. Kind of just in the moment and just focusing on one thing at a time. But, there's a lot of things that I would love to do. There's a lot of, showing up at career day in 8th grade, I was a farmer. So you never know. You never know if that could be true or not. Right. That's funny. I think 7th grade, I was a baseball player. Okay, there you go. All right. So maybe but, I haven't really thought about it too much. I'm just taking it one step at a time and seeing where life takes me. That's awesome, man. So, Brandon, obviously I want to express our sincere gratitude for taking your time to be on our show. Amen. It's a very compelling story. And Louisville takes a lot of pride in being a strong Catholic city. And I can assure you, and because I've been a part of it, this entire community is cheering for your success. They're rooting for you. They want to see you do well. Do you foresee the D-backs making it back to the World Series? Are you guys going to be that good? Absolutely. Absolutely? I think we made some moves this offseason to be even better, so that's definitely our goal. I love it, man. I love it.
I mean, Rich, obviously Brandon stands as just one more example of the profound impact of Catholic schools. And with the help of the Catholic Education Foundation.
The answer is yes.
Brandon, thank you so much for taking your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to podcast number 28. We'll see if we can't top it again in podcast number 29. Thanks for listening.